We like to call it the Supernatural Hour. And now, our hosts.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special episode of the Supernatural Hour. I'm Tim.
I'm Raven.
Jeff.
And Chad.
Tim, you sound super sexy with that low voice. I just gotta add that little note there.
I wish I had this voice all the time.
So as far as residentials, we haven't done any this last week, none really to report. However, we have 2 in the works, and one is possibly a poltergeist, so that could be interesting.
You know, we've talked about those before, but I don't know if I've ever actually done a residential that involved a poltergeist.
Me neither, and we've talked about this a little bit before on another podcast, and I wouldn't mind revisiting it after this investigation if it turns out to be. But there's 2 schools of thought on the poltergeist.
There is.
I was just about to say, if you could kind of clarify what would make a poltergeist haunting compared to any other type of haunting. Because, I mean, most hauntings, I think, don't they say that, like, stuff gets moved, things disappear, things get moved around? How is that classified differently from being a poltergeist activity?
This is how this one is going down. The person who told me about it is a neighbor, and she says, hey, I've got a friend whose neighbor is having some activity, pictures are being thrown off their wall. She says, so it's a poltergeist. So
it's more violent. A
little more violent. Okay. And then, and so the 2 schools of thought, very, very basically, because this isn't a poltergeist episode, is, everyone says it's a noisy ghost, one that throws things around.
That's
and is
literally, I think, what it translates from. Right. Isn't it like German or Latin or something like that?
Geist does mean ghost. I'm not sure what polter means. I don't know if it's like slang or something.
Right.
I remember mentioning the phrase when I lived in Germany, and people were just kind of like, huh? So I don't think it's a true typical German word. I could be wrong. I'll have to do more research on it, but
I think that's what it translates to, is basically is noisy ghost.
Noisy ghost. I think if you polled the average American, or maybe even the average world person, and asked what a poltergeist was, I think they would say noisy ghost. But the other school of thought is that it's actually someone in the home, more often a teenager. And of the teenagers, more often a girl teenager, but it can be young adults that have an ability that they're unaware of. And the best way to explain this is if you've read Harry Potter before he finds out he's a wizard and he does magic when he's under stress.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Well, there's also a story in one of the scary stories to tell in the dark books.
Right.
When we did our episodes a couple of years ago on poltergeist, I think we did 3, because we talked about poltergeist, and I actually read that story on the show.
Right.
And then we went over the 2 different types of poltergeist. So we did one episode where we reviewed the poltergeist movie. And then we went over the other type where we reviewed the Carrie movie.
Right. Yeah, so basically, someone in the home is under stress. They don't realize that they're causing this activity, and the activity usually focuses around whatever's causing their stress. So let's say a young girl is being abused by the uncle that lives in the home. It's going to be his pictures that fly off the wall. It's going to be his photos that are cracked. It's going to be his, keys that fly around the room, sort of a thing. So this will be interesting. We'll see if we can get in there and figure out what it is.
So I do speak German, but like I said, I've never heard the word polter. I don't know if that's something that's really, exists in German. The German word for poltergeist is a Klopfgeist, and Klopf means to like knock and bang, and Geist means spirit. So I think Klopfgeist is probably their word for that type of activity. But I mean, I lived in Germany for a year. I've been brushing up on my German a lot lately, and I've never heard the word polter. So if someone speaks German and they do know more about that, I'd love to hear it. But I mean, I like word etymology, where words originate.
It could even be Latin, if I remember.
It could be,
that could be wrong, though.
That could be. I'll have to do some more research on that. But yeah, like I said, I remember mentioning it to my friends, and they were just like, huh, I mean, I'm sure it's a word over there, but it just might be that there's nothing to really translate. I don't know.
So I don't know if this is a thing everywhere. I saw it on the internet that if you were willing to have trick-or-treaters come to your house this year because of COVID, you took a pumpkin and spray painted it purple and put it in your front yard. I don't think it's really caught on, but I thought that's a cute idea. I like purple. So I got 2 pumpkins, spray painted them purple. One of them, I don't know if pumpkins need to breathe, but one of them turned into absolute goo. It was like a spray paint, like a 4-layer spray paint ball of goo, and I barely got it in the garbage can without experiencing whatever horror might have been inside that goo.
Halloween, especially this year, it's free candy day. You come to my door, free candy. You're an adult, free candy. Don't have a costume, free candy. Everyone gets free candy this year. I mean, it's...
You can always tell who the dentists are, though.
Right?
Because you're not getting candy, you're getting free toothbrushes.
Yeah. or little boxes of raisins.
We had a pediatric...
An apple.
We had a pediatric dentist several years ago that would actually pay kids for their candy. He paid them
Really?
He paid them $1 a pound.
Wow.
If you took your candy in, you weigh it, he'd pay you cash.
Meanwhile, my dentist encouraged me to eat bags of caramels and says, I'll see you next month.
That's pretty cheap for candy. If I go to the candy store, I'm paying $16 for a pound of candy.
They're kids.
He better up his game here.
I remember going to the dentist as a kid, and they had lollipops on the way out, and they'd give you a lollipop, and it's like right after cleaning. And I guess that's, keep job security. Hey, we'll see you again soon. Enjoy that lollipop, little kid.
We have a street here locally, just down kind of behind the Walmart, where they have booths set up outside. I mean, before COVID, every Halloween, and they'll pass out cider and hot dogs and popcorn and chili, and you got to go earlier because when they're out, they're out.
I do love cider, fresh pressed cider in fall. It's just a great thing. Warm, cold. There's a place.
Pumpkin spice cider?
No, I'm not a fan of pumpkin spice at all. But there's a place about 45 minutes south of here, the Red Barn. Mm-hmm. And they have fresh pressed cider that's just amazing. And fortunately, some of the local supermarkets have started carrying it, the Red Barn cider, and I think it's only at certain supermarkets, but it's worth spending a few extra dollars for it, because it's like drinking candy. It is so good.
Yeah. So a little background there. Where this Red Barn is in the area where I was born and raised, and there's apple orchards down there. So it is literally picked fresh off the tree, the good apples, not those nasty ones you get in the store.
You can taste the freshness. It is unbelievable.
These are the good original, not over processed apples.
Yeah, last year the place that I was working at, the manager, we had a meeting with all the other supervisors, and she brought in like 2 gallons of the red Barn cider and a bunch of
it's like crack,
pumpkin spice donuts. But it was delightful. It was tantalizing, mesmerizing, and fantasizing. And
Lurch endorses the Red Barn cider.
I give Red Barn cider 2 thumbs up. Check it out. Ask your local retailers for them to carry it. Unless you live in Utah, then you're just
They've got
shit
good
out
ice
of
cream.
luck.
They've got good ice cream too in the summer.
I haven't had the ice cream.
It's tasty.
Yeah, I definitely get excited for Halloween. I mean, it has a special place in my heart next to Christmas, but Halloween, it's just, there's something about scary stuff. I love haunted attractions. I love going to, haunted locations during Halloween time. And my oldest son, he's 11. I'm trying to get him to go, but he's still a little bit too young. But it's like watching a scary movie. You go into a theater, you're in a safe place, you get the socks scared off you, you come out laughing, and you had a heart racing experience. Same thing with like going to a haunted location. You got people that jump out of the shadows, and I'm laughing giddy out of nervousness and fear, but also just sheer joy. And they don't touch you, they don't do anything, but they do everything they can to scare you. And it's you feel safe as you're walking through, but you transcend that experience into something that's it's great. I mean, if you haven't been to a haunted location during Halloween time, go and do it. Get past your fears. You'll be laughing by the time you leave.
Well, if you're looking for a good haunted house, here's a quick list of the top 5 haunted houses here in Utah, anyways, according to castleofchaos.com. Number 5.
I'm guessing Castle of Chaos. Number 1.
Well, let's wait and find out.
Okay, drum roll.
So starting at number 5 real quick is the Dead City Haunted House. This is normally in Murray, Utah, I believe. Number 4, and I've actually been to this one quite a bit when I was younger, and I do remember it being a good haunted house. That's Nightmare on 13th.
Nightmare on 13th is good.
Number 3, we've investigated here, but I've never actually been to the haunted attraction, is Fear Factory.
I was going to say, I went there once. I had passes, but it was on a blackout day. So there were hardly any volunteers in the actual attraction, and they had all the lights turned off. So it was still a fun experience, though.
So the nice thing about, at least I know about 3, 2, and 1 are actually, besides being haunted attractions, are actually haunted.
Okay, I'm curious to see if one of my favorite locations is on that list.
So number 2,
okay,
we've all investigated before, and that is Asylum 49.
Asylum 49.
That one's fabulous.
That one is dark, and there's a lot of activity there. And they've recently bought out the entire building. Half of it used to be a working retirement home, and it was baffling to me that people were still dropping off their parents there. You know, the half the building is this haunted attraction year round, and the other half you actually have these people that are being taken care of by nurses and doctors, and they're left there to, you know.
So 2 years ago,
waste
for my
away.
birthday, I actually took you to Asylum 49.
We went there together.
We got to investigate.
That was a really cool experience.
You did the other side?
I've done the other side about 3 times now.
Yeah, that was fun.
First time I did it, though, was with Lurch, and it was a very, very interesting experience.
It was.
Well, a lot of activity that night.
Back room with the operating table, there was a lot of dark activity back there.
I remember you standing with your back to the one hallway because there was a dark entity down that way.
And I sensed it.
I remember seeing, we had the Ghost Meter Pro on the floor in between us, and I remember seeing a spirit bend down to touch it, and as soon as I saw that, it lit up.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then I remember her, I don't know if you remember this, she was crouching down behind me, like holding onto my shirt because she was afraid of the entity that was on the inside of you.
Yeah.
I get the chills just.
I've got goose pimples on my arm, and
it was such a neat and kind of creepy experience. There was a lot of other stuff that happened that night, but the Asylum 49 is a full contact. I don't know if they're doing that this year with the COVID, but on normal years you sign a waiver and it's full contact.
Really?
I've seen videos where they actually, like, as you're waiting in line to go into the haunted house, they'll come and grab people and they'll separate you from your group and they'll lock you in a room by yourself
for hours.
And I would love to go, me and you, and see if they attempt to do anything to either one of us.
I'm not so sure about the full contact being held. I mean, I would. Oh gosh, not knowing when I'm going to get released.
We're not small guys though, so
I know we can fight. We can fight back.
Peter Brady's back.
Come on, Peter. Tell us more.
I think it would be a struggle. They would have to find some really big dudes.
Seriously. I can imagine 4 or 5 people struggling.
And I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would send like 4 or 5 guys out to
the big ones.
That one.
They'd be like, ooh, get that one.
And I probably wouldn't mind because I'd like sneak into K2 or something and try to investigate in the dark. It's like, you lock me in a room by myself, I'll get my pendulum out. Does anyone here want to talk to me?
So Asylum 49 is number 2 on the list.
So
what's number 1? Presented by Castle of Chaos.
Drum roll, please.
Number 1 location is
Castle of Chaos.
Wow.
And the reason why they say that they're number 1 is they're also very interactive. I've been to Castle of Chaos and I actually love it. Of course, the one time I went, I was with 2 drunk girls and we almost got kicked out. I think actually one of them got kicked out and snuck back in. But it's not you just walking through, because haunted houses like tell a story. You're walking through and it's a lot of his jump scares, but Castle of Chaos actually tells a story.
Cool.
Like they have someone guide you through and they have a story that they go through. And I remember one of the things I did when I went a long time ago is they had a room where they did like a little mini seance and like a demon popped out or whatever, but they actually have a guide going through with you. And I don't know if that's, I believe that's still how it is, but they have someone like legit telling you a story. And they this is actually a haunted house that was put together by a bunch of LARPers. If you don't know what that is, live action role playing. So it's a bunch of like legitimate actors that have put this together, and they tell a fascinating story when you're going through this haunted house. So I can see why they would be ranked number 1. And it's not just like Castle of Chaos. I've seen in like national polls that people have done, and a lot of the top haunted houses are actually here in Utah, and Castle of Chaos is usually on the top of those lists.
Now, one that didn't make the list, that's one of my personal favorites, is the Haunted Forest in American Fork. I've been there probably 3 or 4 times. I haven't been there the last few years because I want the memories to kind of fade a little bit so it'll feel fresh, but they do change it up from year to year. They add a little bit of variation, so it's not the same thing every year, but you're walking through a literal forest. They have a pathway, and it's really well made. It took me probably about an hour to go through with my wife, and I have a blast every single time I go there. So that's worth checking out. That's south of Salt Lake in Utah County.
Another one that's really good that Raven and I and the kids went to, this was last year or the year before, was
It's
Evermore.
been 2 years. Oh, Evermore?
Yeah, when we went to
That
Evermore.
was last year.
And
I haven't been there yet. It's good?
It's a real experience. It's
Yeah.
immersive. There's a story.
Yeah.
It's not a haunted house per se, but they decorated up. So they decorated up Halloween. You
Festive,
go through, and
yeah.
it's like there's characters dressed up,
And they're in story.
and they're in story mode. You
Yeah.
can tell that they're probably talking about cheeseburgers or what they did at school. But as soon as you get close to them, they're like, "Oh, and forsooth, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And you have to kind of. There's a story going on, and you got to figure it out. When we were there, it was a plague. Yeah, go figure. And we had to, there was one person that was the plague carrier, and every time you'd walk past someone, they'd say something about a tartan scarf, and so you're looking. But they did actually have. There's different buildings you can go into there, and they actually had one that was like a crypt that was kind of like a haunted house on a smaller scale. And then
It's immersive role playing.
right, and
It
then
is an immersive role.
Yeah.
and then they said at a certain time, it was pretty low key for kids, but then at a certain time, it got scarier for adults, and there was a key word that they would put out. I don't remember what it was.
Safe word.
Well, just
Watermelon.
Rutabaga.
Watermelon.
Yeah. Well, it was like
Subway.
it was like the anti-safe word. It's like, okay, this is happening, so if you've got little kids, you want to have sleep for the next 5
Yeah.
years, probably send the kids out. And
Yeah.
we had kids, so we left, but
Now, is Evermore open year round, or is that just seasonal?
it's open year round.
That's what I thought. I wanted to check it out. My wife has asked me if I wanted to go, so I wasn't sure.
So it's kind of medievalish, and if you go dressed up, it's more fun.
Nice.
So you can go dressed up any time of the year.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
would love to go dressed up in my Star Trek outfit and pretend like,
You're a time traveler.
we're time travelers, and the Prime Directive, and oh no, they can see us. And,
We should go together as a group sometime. I think that'd
that
be
would
fun.
be fun. That would be fun.
It's not really expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not cheap, but it's not.
It's not an arm
It was
and a
like
leg.
$20 to get in, or 25.
Dude, that's not bad.
I
It's
mean,
not
we
bad.
took the kids.
I think Haunted Forest is like $40 per person, so that's less than going through the Haunted Forest.
And I do have 2 Star Trek costumes.
Uniforms.
What we should do as a group is the Grim Ghost Tours Christmas tour.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I've done it once before.
Okay.
I was going to do it, I believe, last year, but I got sick and couldn't go. But people, you don't think of ghost stories when you think of Christmas, but that's kind of where ghost stories were.
Yeah.
Originally. It was a
Yeah.
Christmas thing.
Christmas Carol. I mean, that's a classic ghost story that I read every year, and it's just short little novella. It's like 100 pages, if that, 80
That's not
pages,
very
and
long.
it's just it's a great read. It's a ghost story.
Yeah, I do
Yes.
want to tell you about the creepiest haunted house that I've ever been to, though. And that was the old Utah State Mental Hospital.
They don't do that one anymore, do
They
they?
haven't done it for years, but when I was, this would be in the mid 70s, they'd actually have the inmates at the hospital do the haunted house. They were certified. They were certified in more ways than one. But they were actually putting this on, and they'd make money, and it was huge.
Wow.
And if you go there, there's literally an old stone castle and an amphitheater up on the back part of the hill, and it is fabulous. They've done movies, they've done other things there, but it looks medieval, and it's a really neat place. But yeah, I punched one guy out because he scared me so bad.
Where is this? I didn't know.
Center Street in Provo, and go all the way to the end, down by Seven Peaks.
Oh.
Yeah. And when you crash into the mountain, you're there.
You're there.
Okay,
And
okay.
you can see the castle, and it's literally an old rock castle
Yeah.
that was built during the PPP, the Conservation Corps, back in the 1930s.
Okay.
And it's phenomenal. I've actually been to a wedding reception there at one point in time. And so it is accessible, but it's a really neat venue.
I used to work on Center Street in Provo, but it was only 2 blocks east State Street of the main street.
If you go all the way to the mountain,
So, yeah,
it's up on the, when I say up on the mountain, it's on the foothill just at the base of the
I never went that far east.
See,
So I'll have to check
there's
it out.
one that used to be around that I really miss. It's part of Chinatown now, but Rocky Point Haunted House.
Oh, that was awesome.
Salt Lake has a Chinatown?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I did not
It's
know
like
that.
33rd South and like State Street.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be
David's
Rocky.
Kitchen.
That's right. Yeah, David's Kitchen, and
33rd South State Street.
there's that, oh, shoot, I don't
Rocky
even know,
Point was
the
actually-
temple entrance thing right next to Southern Exposure.
Rocky Point
The strip
actually-
clubs. That's how I know it. No,
It used to be done by people that actually worked in Hollywood. I believe Greg Nicotero, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
One of the
From
guys
Walking
that does
Dead.
Walking Dead
And
used to be a part of that haunted house.
Wasn't that up in Ogden originally?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've been there when it was up in Ogden, and it was awesome.
It was around for like 20 plus years. It was an amazing haunted house. I mean, they had actual like wax figures, as you were waiting in line of like the different slashers and whatnot.
And you know, always search your kid's candy bag. Last year, I think I found a Nickelback CD, so it's very dangerous, you know.
Yeah, I always search them. You know, I got to confiscate those Almond Joys.
Oh man,
Well, I always
it's
put
dad tax.
I was going to say I put a mom tax on
Yeah,
candies.
yeah.
And it's Reese's Peanut Butter's cups from
Yeah.
everybody except one, and he hates Almond Joys, and that's number 2 on the favorite list.
I usually wait until the kids are in bed, and I kind of go through their stash at night. But yeah, I take a good fair portion, but you know, it's
Some of the younger
it's a
kids,
tradition, the gift that keeps on giving.
they'll come up and they'll give me a dum-dum. I'm like, no, that is not mom tax.
No,
What you really should be looking for in your kids' candy is the marijuana edibles and the LSD laced tattoos.
because they're gonna pass those out for free every year.
But this is something that pops up every year.
It
that They
does.
actually tell people to be on the lookout for.
You know,
The funny thing is like, I don't think that there's ever been a recorded incident of either one of these happening, but it is another one of those.
it's an urban myth. It is.
People that enjoy their substances, like enjoying their substances,
Exactly.
and they're expensive.
They're not going to give them out to little kids.
It's funny
That's for
is,
sure.
As I was watching some of these videos that mention these two things, the person I was watching them with was just like, you'd be surprised. I'm sitting there thinking like, I know how much it costs for certain products.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if someone was actually handing out edibles and LSD laced tattoos during Halloween, because that stuff is expensive.
It is.
I mean, unless you're like super high when you're handing out Halloween stuff, like it's not. I don't know anyone that's.
I ran
actually
out of fruit snacks, bro. Here, why don't you take
Have a
one of
brownie.
these? So yeah.
So this just sounds like a plot of some police movie. You know, the guy gets high, passes out the stash, and then the dealer comes and tries to kill him. And I was like, dude, I passed it out for Halloween.
Did you just write a script in
Yeah.
like 30 seconds?
I did. There you go.
I'm incorporating that into my screenplay now.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Copyrighted. Put trademark on that right now.
We have Paranormal Supernatural Hour swag. And there's a lot of swag. And so if you are interested in getting some Supernatural Hour bling and swag, go to tpublic.com and just search Supernatural Hour.
I might
It'll
have
be
to
there.
pick myself up a shirt. I don't have a shirt.
You can
I
also
have a
get
couple
there.
Supernatural Hour shirts. They're nice.
Yeah.
You can also get there, I believe, through the
Advanced Paranormal.
advancedparanormal.com merchandise tab.
Yep.
Okay.
Go to advancedparanormal.com, like Don said, under the merchandise tab, and it will take you straight to our merchandise. And there is 2 drop downs, I believe. There is merchandise for Advanced Paranormal gear, and there is merchandise for Supernatural Hour.
Groovy.
You've been listening to the Supernatural Hour at AdvancedParanormal.com. The Supernatural Hour is part of the Radio Ronin network, found at RadioRonin.com. Copyright 2021 by Advanced Paranormal Services.